Hey, 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 time for another out of this world story from rSpace. My wife, 35 female, cheated on me, 34 male, and then cried while deleting her affair partner's contact information. Basically what the title says. My wife of 4 years joined a gym earlier this year in order to drop the lockdown pounds. After some days, she mentioned that she had made a friend with a trainer, 56 male, there, and he motivates her to train harder. Considering the age of the dude, I thought maybe he is taking some mentor-like interest in my wife. Eventually, they started talking to each other on Instagram and WhatsApp. She started spending more time on her phone and became a bit secretive with it, but I just put it down to pandemic stress as she is a trader in a financial firm and it's a very demanding job. Around 2 weeks back, I got a message on Facebook from someone who claimed to have proof that my wife is cheating on me. So I added that person and it turned out to be the wife of her friend. She told me that she had read messages on her husband's phone that he and my wife were having a full-blown emotional affair and were making plans for booking a hotel room, and he was saying what sexual things he would like to do to my wife. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. I went home and asked her if it was true and that she was having an emotional affair with the dude from the gym. She said he is just a friend. I asked, sure? She said yes. Then I said okay and got back in my car and drove away and got a room in a hotel for the night. Then I turned my phone off and went to sleep. Next morning, I switched on my phone and saw 80 missed calls and hundreds of messages. So I called her back and asked if she was ready to fess up. She said yes. So I went back home and she confessed to having an emotional affair with the dude, but insisted that she was never going to have sex with him. That's why she kept postponing his offer of hotel stay. She begged for one more chance and promised to never make such a choice again and gave me her phone and social media passwords. I checked her messages and it was very clear from the messages that they were yet to have any physical encounter, and he was pushing it. While my wife was muted in her response, she was not shutting it down. There were a few videos and photos there too. So eventually I thought it's no harm to try marriage counseling before blowing up the marriage. Anyways, yesterday we had our first marriage counseling session and our counselor was asking some basic questions, and he asked if she had given me full access to her phones and social media. Has she deleted the contact info of the affair partner or blocked him? She said she had done neither, and I looked at her in amazement. When I asked her to block him, she complied, but cried at the same time. At this point, I was literally open-mouthed. Like, is she really crying while blocking the guy she was cheating on me with? All the while I'm sitting there? It's as if I had an out-of-body experience, and I was watching myself looking at my wife crying while blocking her affair partner. I had never seen such a pathetic sight. I lost respect for myself. The marriage counselor explained to me that it's something affair fog, and while it was an immoral relationship, the feelings were still very much real. But at that moment, I didn't just lose respect for my wife, I lost respect for my pathetic self. It was sad watching her cry over him, so I asked her to conclude the session and then told my wife that I'm going to get her hotel room and really think about our future. And then I almost ran out of there. So my question to Reddit is this: is my marriage salvageable, or should I cut my losses and run? The answer comes from a girl 2021. My opinion is to run. Once I found out some of what my wayward spouse did to me, I started noticing how little I've meant to him in general. As chumplady.com says, you become the appliance. You get used for what they need and get nothing in return, and you will probably get cheated on again. It's like my wayward spouse doesn't look at me the same. He's discarded me in his mind. Now I'm working on reciprocating that. Otherwise, I'm a fool that will continually get burned. Next story goes like this. Wife, 25 female, cheated on me, 28 male, for 6 months after 3 years of marriage. All the details are pretty crazy in my opinion, but trying to be brief for now. I'm an American married to a German, living in Germany, working for the US military. My wife and I have been together for 5 years, married for 3. She has been cheating on me for the last 6 months. We've been physically separated for 3 months. Until a few weeks ago, I thought she only cheated twice early this spring, but I just found out she has been with him the whole time, going on trips together, sharing our pets with him, meeting each other's parents, basically a full-blown relationship, all while abandoning me. She told me a few weeks ago the truth and that she was leaving me for him. The next day she asked if there was anything she could do to make things right, and she would end things with the affair partner. I'm somehow willing to give her a chance, but she is still sad that she can't be with him, and she isn't showing me in actions that she wants to be with me. She shows me very little affection, and I only see her for an hour or 2 each week, even though I'm telling her how much I need her to be here if she wants to be with me. I'm incredibly isolated at the moment. All of my friends are either deployed or returned to the US, and with COVID, I'm full-time telework and really don't have anyone left. I just want her to start showing me she wants to be with me or move on, but moving on is incredibly hard because of the isolation too. I have several job opportunities in the States, but I would need to sell my house first and would take a huge loss in interest and penalties. How do I cope with waiting for her to come around or moving on, which would take months with selling the house? Either way, I feel like I'm in complete isolation. I have been doing individual therapy and I call my friends and family a lot, but I feel so alone. Edit. I told her today that I'm done trying. She said she didn't really want to be with me anyways. It hurts to hear, but I think I knew that was the case from the beginning of the affair. At least now the back and forth can stop and I can try to get the hell out of here. First reaction comes from Quahog 1945. Why are you allowing yourself to be her obvious fallback plan? She left you for another man after a lengthy affair with him and she suddenly reappears looking to reconcile with you? You're gonna accept this? Man up here, guy. Get rid of her. Next comment comes from Similar Cries 3533. If I had to guess, the day she told you she was leaving, she told him that she wants to be with him and he jumped ship. He's probably married as well. Don't be the plan B. She made her bed, let her lie in it. That's me though. Stephanie Marie 21 says, why are you letting her choose? She should be trying to get you back, trying to reconcile with you. She, in your words, had a real relationship with the affair partner. Parents were met, pets know the affair partner. She gave little to no regard to you and your feelings, has no respect for you, lied to you, and still not fully committing. She showed you who she is, and you're ignoring the signs. Don't be her second choice. You deserve to be the first choice. Wrapping up the comments is Nervous Ad 714. You don't wait. You come back to the USA. You sell and cut your losses. Your happiness is more important than your ex-wife-to-be and material house. Do you need your drill sergeant to tell you and scream at you to get your butt in gear and get rid of her? She's a cheater and a liar. You can never trust her. On to the next story. Learned about my wife's 8-month affair this past June. Been trying to reconcile since. How will I feel about this when I'm 70? Advice. This past June 11th, I did something that I promised myself, 47, and my wife, 42, that I would never do. I broke into her email. In her email, I found out that she has been having an affair with a guy, a buddy of mine, from a few blocks over, for more than 8 months. We have 3 kids, 4, 7, and 12, and the affair partner has 2 kids, 4 and 13. There has been so many warning signs, and I must have asked her throughout the affair at least 20 different times if she was seeing someone. And she always flat out denied it. So, because we had been through so much together and because I never doubted her for a minute, I chose to believe her. Plus, it turns out that she's a really good liar. These emails had an entire history of their relationship. They were deeply in love one minute and then breaking it off the next. Apparently, he asked her to help him leave his wife. So, my wife rallied her 3 doctor friends around him and they decided to help him leave his wife. Our kid's pediatrician and her psychiatrist boyfriend and the pediatrician's psychologist friend. Together they formed a 5-person A-team on a mission to break up both marriages. However, despite all this professional help, the affair partner did not leave his wife. After a whirlwind start of illicit secret love and sex, the relationship became toxic and he wound up manipulating my wife. He kept stringing her along but always gave her enough to stay. Probably did the same to his wife too. I saw in email the several times that she tried to break it off, but he would always somehow convince her to give him another chance. She was convinced that my children would be better off after his wife and I were discarded, and she bought into this Brady Bunch fantasy world of a fun, blended bonus family with a fun grandma cook, her mom, and 8 stockings on the chimney. But the relationship was still super toxic. He was in constant therapy, drinking heavily, and a joke of a man. The kind of married man that would secretly seduce his buddy's wife right under his nose. But, despite my wife physically driving him to an attorney to file divorce papers in May, he was never able to pull the trigger and called the attorney the next day to tell him not to file. When I confronted her after reading the emails, she screamed, "But I love him. I can't leave him. He needs me." She became an emotional wreck. In a panic, she called him from several phones and couldn't get him. He finally texted her back saying, "This is not an emergency." So, she called his wife, met with her, and gave her a 20,000-foot view of the affair. The relationship was immediately over. Of course, I'm paraphrasing here. The day after I found out, he asked if he could come talk to me. He arrived with a super cocky attitude and was offended that I didn't offer him a drink. While attempting to leave, I beat him to a bloody pulp in my front yard. But not bad enough because he was able to drive home and call the police, who spent 2 hours talking and taking photos. Charges were never filed, and my wife was super excited that this happened and super turned on that I was willing to fight for her. She was suddenly in love with me again. We spent the summer doing marriage counseling and we got to the root of the affair. How she felt I was disinterested in her and how I was no longer fun. All I cared about was working out, eating healthy, my work, and my kids. I can accept my side in what led her into the arms of another man during the pandemic, but I do have some reservations. But don't want to get off on a tangent. However, she stopped going to counseling in September and wants to take care of herself. Since the affair, she has spent a ridiculous amount of time stalking the affair partner, his wife, and his family. She also spends tons and tons of time talking about them to her pediatrician friend. This has really slowed down the past few weeks, but it's still there. For most of the time now, our relationship has been better than ever. She looks at me and acts like she is deeply in love. She has been super committed to me and much more willing to meet my needs than she ever has before. Plus, the sex is better than it's been in years. She has expressed sincere regret for the affair and disgust in herself for getting sucked into it. However, she seems to blame the affair partner much more than herself. She also blames the affair partner's wife for some reason. Despite all this, I just can't seem to get past this betrayal. How could she do this to me and our family? How can I ever trust anything she ever says to me? She calls the affair her indiscretion with the retarded boy. But it's much, much worse than that. It was a series of several thousand lies and actions to deceive me and break up our family. She's a school teacher and can't really afford to live on her own. Sometimes I feel like she's only staying with me because she's got nowhere else to go and because she loves our house and her kids. Sometimes I feel like I'm her plan B. Anyone ever been in this situation like this? When I'm 70 and looking back on this, will I regret staying or will I regret and part of me thinks I'd regret leaving? First response from TXSC. Oh, good lord, man. This woman is so toxic. Will you regret forgiving her when you are 70? No, because she'll cheat again after wasting more years of your life and you'll eventually wake up and divorce her anyway. Next thought from OneWait8383. You are the plan B. Whatever you just described is horrible. Please get out while you can. You are definitely going to regret it if you don't leave. 02201970A says, she is still chasing the affair partner. Dude, you are plan B in her eyes. A wallet who takes care of her and the kids. She will absolutely cheat again. Plus, she is surrounded by garbage people who are cheering her on. Hire a lawyer already.